Artist versus AI. Last video was pretty fun, wasn't it? And it's amusing to just dick around with the AI, so why not try it again? This time with Velma from the HBO animated show. Now, to be fair, this is less of a artist versus AI and more of a Mindy Kaling versus AI, as she blatantly, and she even admitted to it, made Velma Indian because she was Indian and turned her into a blatant self-insert. And hey, the issues with Velma, the HBO series, isn't even that the character itself misses all the points, like the April O'Neil one, for example, but rather that it makes Velma into an absolutely atrociously terrible character, and a horrible human being in general, which is a bit of the problem with making a self-insert, I suppose. It does reveal your own monstrosity just a pinch. Not to mention, her entire reason for wanting to play Velma and wanting to make Velma Indian more correctly was because she identified deeply with Velma as the white character, which somewhat sweeps the leg underneath the whole representation argument, but oh well, weaponized hypocrisy is pretty much the definition of the modern day wokeist movement, so I suppose we can't complain too loudly about that. Nevertheless, it's interesting to see what the AI might come up with as an alternative. So, a few rules. One, the prompt will basically be what they did, Velma, but with dark skin. And, of course, we will not be using any of the additional retouching or editing tools that are available. Most of these AIs have entire suites of tools to tweak a picture, to make them better, to fix things like derpy eyes or add and subtract details from the overall design. We will not be using those, we're only going to see what the de facto raw input of Velma but black ends up being. So, we're going to do a top 10 now, because it feels more structured than a random number of pictures I did last time. Beginning with this one right here. So, this is the very first generation that the AI made. It's a bit of a kind of benchmark, and you can see it's got some of the base features down. It's got the glasses, it's got the hair color, but not the length, and it's got the overall like orange color of her sweater, but not the red skirt. It also has more of kind of like a 60s, 70s vibe to it, which is appropriate because, of course, the original show started in 69, 70 something, if memory serves. So, not bad, but not quite Velma Dinkley either. Good start, however. The next one, you can see that the AI is leaning more into the period-appropriate area, like the 60s and 70s, as here we have almost more of a hippie-esque Velma. It's got the hair correct now, the glasses are pretty good as well, and we've got a pinch of orange, but not a whole lot of it, so closer, but still only a 9 on the list. Now the AI started going a little bit crazy and decided to isekai Velma, which, you know what? I am not necessarily opposed to the idea. Now, okay, here's the thing. The entire point of Scooby-Doo was, of course, the whole mystery thing, where there would be a monster, and the monster would chase Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, and they'd be like, oh my god, it's the Yeti, or whatever. And then over the course of the episode, they would reveal various hints, bits and bops here and there, and eventually at the end, they would pull off the mask and go, aha, it was the butler all along. That probably wouldn't work in a setting where the monsters are actually real, but at the same time, the key core of it is still just figuring out the identity of the person. You could make a decent little Monster of the Week kind of show there, and god, I miss Monsters of the Week shows. I used to love those, especially like Supernatural, or like original season Supernatural, not season 742 that we're on now, where you would basically be giving a lot of information as to, like, what is this? Like, this is a Wendigo, or this is a werewolf, etc. And it would kind of be like you'd piece together what the monster was, and you'd get the backstory and the history. It was really creepy and cool. I miss those things. So, Isekai Velma? Perhaps. Then, the AI decided to shoot Velma into space, which could also work, because here's the thing. If we need to reimagine Velma, which is kind of the idea here now, the entire idea of imagining a show around Velma and not Scooby-Doo seems, well, weird and pointlessly innovative for the sake of innovation alone, but details. Simply moving the setting, however, would do wonders for reinvigorating it. Put it in the future, for example. And in this case, it looks more like a near-future space sci-fi-esque. We've also maintained most of the overall arcs here. Short-haired, glasses, red-rimmed, and an orange top, although it doesn't seem to like the red skirt very much. Then we go back in time a little bit again, 60s, 70s. This is one of the more overtly attractive characters, in my opinion. A good design for Velma in a more realistic, non-cartoony show, basically just a straight continuation of Scooby-Doo. And frankly, considering how long it's been since the show went off air, would simply doing what made the show popular to begin with again be such a big problem? It's like, if you haven't had this thing for many years, then frankly, doing that thing again will probably work out far better than reinventing the entire show around a lesbian Velma. That's just my 2 cents anyways. Number 5 is included mostly just because I thought this style, this art style, was just cute as hell, and I would love to see a show in this sort of style. Again, very like retro-esque. It reminds me honestly of like the cartoons of the 90s and the early 2000s, you know? It's a style that we just don't get to see anymore, probably because it tended to exaggerate the more masculine and the feminine proportions of things, making things obviously masculine or obviously attractive and cute, you know? Which is, of course, verboten in today's day and age. Nevertheless, if you're going to reinvigorate a show from the 70s, it might not be a bad idea to actually lend some inspiration from the 70s. Hell, considering the success of that 80s show, etc., I wonder if that wouldn't actually be a bit of a goldmine, really. Number 4, Steampunk Velma. And if there is an absolute necessity to reinvent the wheel here, well, this would allow you to maintain the monster of the week kind of thing, and maintain a certain degree of doubt as to whether or not it is a monster, because in a steampunk setting, well, there's no reason why you couldn't have monsters. You could very well have real monsters interspersed with the not monsters ones. In fact, that in and of itself could kind of be one of the interesting questions. Today, is it a monster or is it not? I even believe, if memory serves, and it's been a very long time, that there was at least one episode of Scooby-Doo, or was it the terrible spin-off with the little Scooby-Doo variant, where there was actually a real monster as well, but there also happened to be a fake one in the mix. You could kind of do something like that, and it would perhaps be interesting. Number 3, again, the AI is getting a little bit creative here. More of modern-day rebellious style of Velma. If you want to do Scooby-Doo but just redesign Velma as the main character, you know, maybe instead of making her into a teenage lesbian, making her into an adult that has broken away from the group and views that as a silly teenage fling, something dumb and stupid that teenagers did when they were young, grow her up into more of a rebellious phase. Hell, you could even make her one of those like, oh, the government did it kind of types if you want to do that. And then rope her into the mystery again, reveal it all, remind her of the good old times, and kind of rebuild the gang around Velma's reignited enthusiasm, in fact, which is sort of kind of what the Velma HBO show did, except dreadfully so. Number 2, in terms of just pure design in like a normal Velma style, this is really genuinely actually literally the second best one, as this is just a good Velma design. She looks adult, cute, with all of the correct identification markers, although the top white, not orange, and that is really the only drawback that means that number 1 is the best one out of them all. As not only is this an adorable little Velma image, it's got the hair, it's got the sweater, it's even got the patterning, it's got the glasses, it's got all of it. This, honestly, is the one I found by far the best, because again, frankly, there is no need to reinvent the wheel here. People haven't seen Scooby-Doo for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Why would you need to do some radical departure when you've got the original formula right there? Especially now, as who the hell else is doing it? Like, really, genuinely. What other show like it is there? I can't think of any. Now, I will say, this one is trending more towards the wrong skin color, however. And in fact, in the honorable mentions sections, it was genuinely rather difficult to make the AI racist enough to draw her only as one skin color, as this little schizo out composite image here created, where you have several white skin colored versions of Velma itself surrounding the main black one. It had a lot of problems with making Velma a delicious brown girl, but we wrangled into place eventually. Another honorable mention is this one. This really should have been in the top 2 or 3, honestly. Because again, the design is excellent. You've got the orange sweater, you've got the glasses, you've got the hair, the correct length, etc. But I took some minus points because she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers on her hand there. She's holding I don't quite know what, and that's... and her nails too, you know. AI had some problems with that one, but overall, it's really, really, really quite good. Now, one complaint I do have with the AI around this time round was that, one, it struggled with the skin color quite a bit, really wanted to make Velma white. I sympathize, I suppose. And it also wasn't quite as creative as last time around. Last time I felt like I got way more variations on April O'Neil, whereas the character of Velma appears a bit more set and square, and there was a few handful standouts like the isekai'd her, for example, that made it into the top 10, and then there was this one, which... I'm not entirely sure where the AI got this source of inspiration from, but here we have, hot fit tomboy, Velma, I suppose. I'm not complaining, in fact, I'm applauding, and I love the fact that you've got 2 laughing randos in the background too. Almost as if the AI is going like, see, it's a joke. It almost makes you think that it's alive, but that is mostly just my brain anthropomorphizing absolutely everything I come into contact with, because I'm a human being, and we do that stuff. There we have it though. 10 more designs for April O'Neil, going from the classic, which in the end is probably the best in my opinion, to the more off-the-wall like Isekai, and honorable mentions, Tomboy, Hot Velma, On the Beach. I feel like I said April O'Neil several too many times there as well, but that's just because I'm Norwegian. Poor excuse, I know, and yet it's the best one I have. Let me do... That's the one I have. Do let me know what you think in the comment section down below, which one your favourite was, and whether or not you thought these were creative enough, whether or not you think there is a need to be creative at all, or if you feel like the AI was a little bit stuck in its ways here. It also did mess up the eyes quite frequently in this one too, which I probably chalk up to the fact that Velma in the cartoon, of course, just had 2 little, black dots for eyes, which probably confused the AI just a little bit. Anyways, until next time, I am an Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.